PhD, but here she's looking to take out a doctorate in pain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Skyline's Colleen Goulet. Our next rider is your 2019 Collegiate National Road Champion, racing out of Colorado via Indianapolis, Indiana, racing on the InCycle team, former national champion Laurel Rothberg. And one of our freshly minted national champions, racing for the Devron West Coast Cycling Team with 25 career wins. She'll take the start as our current Romanian national road champion. This is Georgiana Ungogreanu. And now a rider who makes it a habit to find the podium, racing for the Denver Disruptors. She found the top 6 in Redlands. Welcome, please, Haley Bates. Racing out of El Segundo, California, riding for the Big Orange team. This is your local hero. It's the Comet, Sandy Weinstein. And now, one of the top riders on the Lifetime Grand Prix Series. She's a regular on Belgian Waffle Ride podiums. Let's bring up superstar Izzy King. We will now call the rest of our field to the line as we get ready to hit out with our pro women's race.
All right, wow, this is going to be electric. We're going to throw the final special over to Chief Official. Riders ready, on my whistle.
Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. This is the Manhattan Beach Criterium. This is the women's P123 race, and I believe it's a 55-minute race. And the camera angle that you're watching is from Marlena Bemis. So Marlena's off to a decent start here. It's a pretty fun course. It's not your normal four-corner crit. As you can see from the map on the top left, it's kind of like, it's almost an out and back, but it's really not. It's on 2 separate streets. So instead of U-turns, there's 2 hairpin turns. It looks kind of banana shaped, but for the most part, it's just really 2 long straightaways. I know there's a little kink in it right here, but for the most part, you ride them like they're 2 long straightaways, basically. So this section here on the front straight, or the back straight actually, this is all uphill. It's kind of like a 2-tiered hill or 2-tiered little climb. Here you can see it's a little downhill again, and then it's going to kick back up to about 6%, but just for, I don't know, just a few hundred yards or something on the next climb. So after this little kicker here, there's going to be another U-turn, and this is just giving you the course layout for this first lap here. So the second U-turn, it's a little bit faster speed, but it's a really short turn. The first turn's a little bit wider. This one's, if you're single file, you can kind of treat it as a late apex, like just go a little bit wider there and then hit the apex here. For whatever reason, everyone slows down a lot. There's a lot of paint and stuff. The road's not the greatest on the U-turns, but it's not like dangerous or anything, but it just doesn't suit your eye often. So, the group kind of slows down a lot there. So Marlena's falling back a little bit here. This is a really fun section of the course. It's really downhill. Sometimes it doesn't look like it, but I think it reaches over 6% downhill for a second. Right there it says over 11% downhill. But you can get some really high speed. stay to the left a little bit here and you'll be protected by the wind. And you can see, like, without using any watch, Marlena was able to catch up pretty easily here up from the downhill. We got some big hitters in this race as well. I'm sure you heard the call-ups at the beginning. So, not only the girls that were called up, but there's some other very fast riders in here. All of the Encycle Mommies team, they're all pretty strong. You got Camilla with LABA and two other LABA ladies that are pretty strong. I coach Camilla as well as Marlena. So there's just a full field of strong women in this race, and it was a pretty fun race to watch too. All right, so that was basically one full lap there, and then be coming into the first hairpin here. There's a little bump at the beginning of the first hairpin, so it's like I said, it's a little unsettling to people, and visually it just doesn't look so great. But yeah, honestly, the turns could be taken a lot faster, but in every race for the most part, other than maybe like the pro men or something, everyone pretty much slowed down on both U-turns. It's a pretty long video. As you guys know, I'll probably put the entire video out, so it's going to be like probably close to an hour video. So, there'll be some moments of silence, which I'm sure everyone will like. But, one of the reasons I like doing like the voiceovers on videos that I put the whole video out is because I reduce the noise of the actual race, like the natural sounds of the race. Just because to respect everyone that's communicating in the race, sometimes there's things said that in the heat of the moment, that maybe people don't mean or wouldn't want to be shown in that light. So, for the most part, I have the voices down and kind of talk over them or whatever. But yeah, if I don't go through and make sure there's nothing inappropriate on there, usually I won't put it out raw, and I'll just try to respect everyone and keep the volume down a little bit. So here's a little bit interesting just how tight the group is to the right side. It's a pretty big field. I don't remember exactly the number of riders in it, but this is a pretty large field here. And, usually when it's a large field like this, someone's going to take advantage and shoot up one of the sides. And, no one really did at that point. Everybody was kind of just hanging in a tight group on the right. Looks like the race has settled in just a little bit, and everyone's kind of, chilling a little bit, just preserving a little bit of energy. This happens all the time. You always get like a really fast start at the beginning of every crit, kind of like Zwift racing. Everybody's kind of got their adrenaline up and want to get out the gate pretty fast. And then a couple laps into it, the race starts to settle a little bit. Yeah, so definitely the ladies are just cruising now. If you can see, they're under 20 miles per hour, and this is pretty much the fastest part of the course here. So one thing about that makes the women's races like so dynamic is this thing right here, what everyone's doing right here, just kind of chilling. It's kind of, reverting back to like group ride speeds a little bit. But what that does, though, is that entices people to attack. And anytime the speeds get really slow, someone's going to attack. So, if if that's your style or whatever, that's great. This is perfect. You get a slow speed and it's easier for you to launch a little attack, get off the front and get some separation. If you or your team does not want to chase attacks or try to chase breaks all the time, you got to keep the speed higher. And that's a hard thing to do unless you have a lot of teammates. Yeah, so... Yeah, and shout out to Jules from Major Motion. She stepped up and she's had a really good year this year. She was in the Cat 4-5 field for the last couple years, but this year she's I wouldn't say taking it serious this year, but I think she's made a pretty good push to just become a better rider and has worked hard at it. And, she moved up and won a race this year. I want to say it was the Barry Wolf Grand Prix. She won that race, and now this is her either first or second, P123 race. And that's her teammate Jade there to the right. And then you can see Camilla, getting a good acceleration in there, just getting out of the saddle. It's an honor for me to be able to coach people, and especially coaching like Marlena and Camilla. But Camilla is she's a joy to coach. Just such a fireball. Like, she has such intensity, and passion for racing. So yeah, I just love talking to her and communicating with her, just with how the race breakdowns and all that kind of stuff goes. So it's great to see her out there competing. She's been off the bike for a little while, so she's not in the greatest shape right here because she just, life interrupts our athletic ability or athletic endeavors sometimes. So she had to take a couple weeks off the bike, so maybe 3 weeks off. So she's not in the greatest shape right now, but she's, doing this race, and she's always going to give it 100%. So you wouldn't know it by the way she races, because she's always going to attack and she's always going to give it her all. So it's, like I said, it's just a joy for me to be able to coach her. You see Marlena had to put in a big dig there, just getting separated a little bit to get over that hump. And then here on the downhill, she's playing with fire a little bit here, just because when the field surges, you can get caught out, and then it's really hard to catch back up. But luckily, the field kind of relaxed a little bit, and she was able to roll up on the downhill section here. Great job of just holding momentum, going to the correct side where the wind is protecting you, and be able to move up there without using too many watts, especially after having to put in that hard acceleration. Shout out to Jessica right there to Marlena's right also. I think Jessica had a really good race this race as well. The season hasn't gone the way she wanted it to or whatever, but I think it's good just stepping up to the P123 field this year. And this was a really tough race. The course is, like I said, not your normal four-corner crit, and I think Jessica did a great job of hanging in there and staying with the group. Same with Jade. Jade hasn't had the year that she wanted as well, but I think she did a great job too in this race, and just kind of being competitive and hanging with the pack. You see an attack going off the left there, some pretty good speed. That's the thing about hanging out in the back sometime, you're a little bit slow to react to what's going on up front, and sometimes you don't even know what's going on up front. One of the things that's dangerous, I believe it was in the Cat 3 race, there was a little breakaway attempt, and then, the main peloton brought the brake back, but then one of the guys went off the front from the brake. Once the brake got caught, one of the guys decided to launch a counterattack, went off the front. And it's kind of funny because for most of the race, the peloton never knew that there was a rider off the front. And, that's just one of the things, you got to be a little bit closer to the front to see what's going on, make sure there's not any breakaways or anything else. And it was really late in the race that they realized that someone was still off the front, and of course it was too late. They couldn't catch him. You can see they took that turn a lot faster now than the previous laps. Previous laps, sometimes they were down to 16, 17 miles per hour in that turn, and through this turn, they took it around 20-21. So, yeah, it's definitely probably a preem lapper or someone attacking off the front. But either way, it has the speed up a little bit and has the peloton really stretched out. I think that's Melissa going up the right side here, and Marlena kind of just tries to follow her up a little bit. Could do a little bit better job of drafting her right there, save a little bit of energy. And that's Camilla over there to the left. So it's a great job using momentum to just roll up and move to the front, but not 100% sure how far up front she wants to be, though. So, yeah, you can tell they kind of shut it down, and Melissa's just kind of cruising right now as well. Don't want to spend too much energy on the front here. All right, so Liz moves up to the front. I think she's like, hey, all right, you guys are slowing it down a little too much now. Like I said, anytime it gets really slow, someone's going to attack pretty soon. And, yes, this is not an attack, but I think Liz is just aware, like, hey, we can't slow it down too much. We got to, you know, kind of keep the pressure on people a little bit. Don't let everyone recover. You know, it's kind of funny because, you know, a lot of the more experienced women in the race, they're really smart, really high racing IQs. And they know better than to let, like, some of the newer racers, or let's say, with, you know, for lack of a better term, a little bit weaker racers, they know better than to let people hang around too much. You wait till the last lap, and if you have the entire peloton there, you know, kind of anything can happen in those scenarios. So at some point, you got to keep the pressure on and make sure that, you know, you kind of limit the field that you're racing against at the end, or minimize the women that you're racing against at the end. So that's Camilla and Catalina over to the right side here. I think this is Catalina's either first or second P123 race as well. So it was just really good to see a lot of the women moving up after racing the 4.5s for a couple years, and just, you know, being competitive and seeing what they could do at the next stage. I believe that's Linda right there, Linda Cruz from LABA as well. Linda's also a really strong rider. All right, so the speed's back up again. You see, I think it was a lap ago, came through here at like 19 miles per hour and definitely doing 10 miles per hour more. So the speed's back up. It's not as stretched out as it could be, but definitely not, you know, giving everyone a chance to rest too much. So, you know, you got to, like I said before, you got to kind of keep pressure on the peloton. If it gets too slow, you're definitely going to have someone launch off and, you know, get in a breakaway. And you get the wrong people in a breakaway, then it's very tough to bring back, or the right people, whichever way you want to look at it. I think this is just a preem lap here. Yeah, if they didn't have that little bump there, I think I don't know, it's on like a little water, like a waterway or whatever, kind of to drain water off. If that little bump wasn't there in the first turn, I think the speeds would be much higher just going into that first hairpin. On this side too is a pretty good little effort. It's not really taxing, even though it goes up to I think almost 6% on the second climb. It's not really that taxing if you get a good acceleration and stay in the draft. But you know, when you're by yourself, it's a pretty good effort. But overall, as long as you stay with the group, it's not really that bad of a hill. So Marlena does a good job here of going around. She's kind of falling back a little bit, but you definitely can't draft someone that's, you know, kind of getting dropped. So you got to recognize that early, move around them, and just get up to back up to the group as much as possible. See Jade trying to make a move up the right side there. You know, I don't really like that right side, just because there's a little bit of dirt over there. There's a manhole that's kind of depressed, you know, maybe like 2 inches deep in the concrete. And like I said, a little bit of dirt over there. And just with the dirt, sand, and the manhole, I just kind of stay away from that side. I can't remember if that's Carla right there. Carla kind of hang out, and if it's Carla, I could be saying your name wrong. I'm sorry if it's not, if I am. But yeah, she kind of hung out in the tent with us on this weekend here. And it's my first time meeting her, but she definitely is a strong rider as well. And I can see her out here, you know, making a couple moves here and there and just being real active in the race. So I think here, Colleen's you know, kind of putting the hammer down a little bit here, not letting anyone rest, just kind of stretching it out. And again, that's what I was saying, like you can't just really leave it to where you're racing against 50 girls. You want to kind of minimize those numbers. So Marlena does a great job of jumping on here. I believe that's Haley Bates in front of us, but Marlena does a great job of jumping on her wheel and just kind of moving up to the front here. Got the little elbow flick there, so Marlena comes through, tries to keep the momentum going. Not doing too many watts here, but that's, you know, that's about a sweet spot effort for her. Flicked an elbow, looked around, no one comes through, so kind of time to shut it down. All right, so one of the mommies pulled through, but yeah, she shut it down as well. And then Marlena puts in a big dig here. And I don't know if she's really, you know, putting in a dig. She's not here to obviously, oh, you know what? I forgot. I think Camilla's off the front in a breakaway, and Marlena actually tries to bridge for a second to Camilla. And she did get a gap. I remember from watching, she got a gap. So there's two people off the front, Camilla Arenas, and I can't remember who Camilla's working with. I think one of the Encycle mommies. But yeah, Marlena tries to bridge the gap here and just try to get in the 3-person breakaway. She got a pretty good gap going up the first hill, if I remember correctly. And I think by the time she gets to the hairpin, the peloton's kind of back on her wheel again. It's very good effort, though, she's putting in here. You know, this is how you try to bridge. I'm not going to say she's successful on this one. It's a little different when you step up to the P123s than it is in the 4.5s. You know, Marlena has good power, like, you know, for the most part, wherever she races. But so does everyone else now when you step up to P123s. You know, when you're in the 4.5 category, it's like exceptional power. But once you level up, hey, there's other girls like, I don't know if that's Kayla Davis right there, I believe. There's other girls that are just as strong and, you know, a lot of them even stronger. So yeah, it's competitive now. So this is good to see, and it's good to see Marlena mixing it up here and just making the move to try to attempt to make that bridge. I think this is a very critical part of the race as well, because you saw just a lap ago, Colleen was on the front, setting the pace pretty high, and then Camilla went off with the brake. So Colleen may have been trying to run down the brake a little bit, just motivate the peloton a little bit to chase. And so Marlena tried to bridge as well. She ended up, making a big pull. And now, as you can see, the peloton's going by pretty good. But I think there's a really critical point because Colleen and some other really strong girls, I know Georgetta was one. I believe it was Georgetta, Colleen. I'm not sure if Elizabeth King got in there or not. But yeah, they're going to launch a counterattack right here. They're going to launch a counterattack, which is perfect timing after, Camilla's a little bit tired. She's one of the very active riders in the P123 field, usually in the top 5, 6, places. So yeah, I think it's Colleen, Laurel, Joyce, Georgetta, and Heather end up getting off the front in a little 5-person breakaway right after this. And I think it may have started off with 4 people, and then I don't know if it's Laurel or not, but one of them bridges up to it maybe a lap after they establish it. And yeah, those girls put the hammer down. And, when you get a very strong mix of women going off the front, it's very hard to chase unless you have a really coordinated effort. And as you can see, the chase is on now. They're still putting in some good speed. So Marlena's trying to recover and trying to hang on at the same time here. We don't get to see her heart rate, but yeah, she's trying to recover and trying to hang on. So it's a good effort just kind of getting back up to the group here. You see the same thing, that's Jessica in front of her. Jessica's trying to hang on as well, like it's super stretched out right now, so we know the hammer's down. So it's a good job by these ladies. Like, they're going 34 miles per hour, picking up the speed to get back in. So yeah, it's very dangerous here where you're almost on the verge of getting dropped. But that's what happens. That's why, when you're, if you try to bridge to a breakaway, that's fine. That's just a chance you gotta take. But when you're trying to run down a breakaway, this is why, unless you have teammates, you don't take too long of a pull off the front, because then you can't react when there's a counterattack. You've used a lot of energy on your pull, and someone launches a counterattack, and you're kind of stuck. Like I said, Marlena has a lot of power. She's obviously in good condition, but yeah, it's a different level now. These girls are a lot stronger, and you really have to protect yourself. So if you're gonna participate in trying to run down someone that's in a breakaway, if you don't have teammates, I say keep it to a minimum. Make 10-second pulls, something like that. But when you go off the front for like a minute or so, it's a pretty big effort, and you kind of run out of steam when that counterattack gets launched. But she's back attached now, so great job by Marlena getting back on. And I think most of the peloton, I think, is back together. Nope, I can see them going up the road there. So I think the breakaway has established now, and there's 5 women up the road now. And again, this is where it gets dangerous. You can see the speed's down low. So yeah, you have 5 strong women off the front, and that gap just gets bigger at this point. And of course, the in-cycle mommies are really smart. I see one's on the front of the peloton, so I'm sure she's just riding tempo, kind of controlling the pace here, if they have teammates in the break, they're going to let it establish and let it get away a little bit. Yeah, so in situations like this, you know, it's very hard to do because there's only a couple teams out there, and for each team, I mean, I don't think anyone has more than 4 riders on one team here. I think the Mommies have the biggest team, I think, out here, numbers-wise, and I think they have 4 or 5 riders, maybe 6. But 1 or 2 of their riders are in the break, so they're not going to chase it no matter what. I shouldn't say no matter what, but for the most part, they're not going to chase it. So that makes it very difficult for everyone else to organize. Not only organize, but they got to maintain that organization to keep running it down. But this is why you need the ultimate frenemies. You need to be a little vocal, talk to a couple girls in the group that are not on the team, that does not have someone in the break representing them. And yeah, those girls have to work together and kind of, you know, agree to try to run it down, or obviously you're racing for 5th or 6th place already. So yeah, that's the hardest part about, you know, not having numbers, is being able to combat strategies. If that strategy is breakaway, if it's a lead out, sprint lead out, whatever you're trying to do, yeah, you definitely need some teamwork as you step up to higher levels. So again, I think Marlena does a pretty good job here on this fast section of moving up when everyone starts to rest a little bit. Here she just slotted in, but I think, yeah, if you move up to the left side is protected from the wind a little bit better. The wind was coming off of the right most of the day. You know, this race is a little bit later in the day, so the wind started swirling a little bit, and every once in a while it would change directions. But I think overall, the left side's a little better protected because the wind was a kind of crosswind right to left. You can see that later in the day too in the open P123 race, and you can see, like, for instance, like Justin won the race, and you can see on the last lap he was hugging the left side like pretty much as hard as he could, like almost running into the rail. And one of the reasons you do that is you eliminate what side someone can pass you on, and if they're going to make a pass, you want them coming into the side with the wind resistance. They're just going to have to use a little bit more power. Obviously they're going to burn out a little bit faster, and you definitely only want people having an opportunity to pass you on one side. You never want to get swarmed if your goal is a sprint finish. So yeah, it's these last couple laps have been pretty tough. It's been pretty stretched out. Marlena's kind of hanging on by a thread. You know, I'm not saying she's wore out. I really can't tell because I can't see her heart rate along with her power. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she'd be a little bit more attached if she could be. So you see Catalina taking a drink there. That's something that my wife does a lot, Ellen. She takes drinks here and there, and I always tell her, hey, you have to be really calculated of when you're going to take drink or any type of nutrition. Staying attached and being in a comfortable, safe spot should be prioritized over taking a drink or any nutrition, just because if there's a surge or anything else, or if it's unsafe. But yeah, I always tell her, just be really strategic on when you take water or when you're going to take nutrition, and make sure you're attached and in a good position before you do so. All right, as you can see, the young lady there in the black and green, she just took a drink there. And that was perfect position. She's sitting in the draft. She caught back up to the group. Everyone slowed down a little bit. So that was more of a safe time. And I don't mean safe as far as dangerous. I mean safe as far as being dropped or having to put in a hard effort. That was a better timing for her to take a drink there. Marlena just did the same now by taking a drink. And I know that seems, that seems kind of like, trivial or whatever, but it does make a difference. And not everyone kind of knows that. Some people drink whenever they're thirsty or whatever the case may be, but it's not always a good choice. For the most part, when you're racing, everything should be intentional. Yeah, they're still going hard. I mean, it's not as hard as it's been in some of the earlier laps, but, it's stretched out pretty good here. So, yeah, the pace is still pretty hard, or the effort's still pretty hard, at least for the conditions. I say this all the time in some of the other videos that we put out, but anytime it's single file, that means it's pretty fast. It doesn't really matter what the speed is. If it's single file, it's pretty strong for the conditions, because if not, everybody would be bunched up for the most part. So again, shout out to Jade. Looks like she's working hard, staying attached. She takes a pretty good line there because the turns are slow for the most part. You can carry a lot more speed through there. So Jade took advantage of it there, taking like the shallow line, just running it up the inside, carrying a little bit more speed, and just making up one spot. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but trust me, when you're near the back, as many spots as you can pick off one at a time, the better. And it makes a difference as far as how much energy is being used. Yeah, definitely the peloton's being controlled a little bit now. Yeah, like I said, there's 5 girls off the front, 5 really strong girls off the front. And at one point they had like a 30-second lead, and the peloton was doing some work trying to run it down, and I believe they had it down to 14 seconds at one point, and we were kind of shouting out the gap. We're trying to shout out the gap to see who's working hard and who's going to try to run it down. They got it down to about 14 seconds at one point. And I don't know, it could be somewhere around here. And then, of course, the ladies up front put the hammer down again and just kind of stretched it all out again. Like I said, it's really hard if you have really strong riders out front and there's no other teams with numbers in the peloton. It's really hard to run down a break after that because, like I said, it's really hard to recruit riders to have coordination and riders with the ability to maintain that rotation and speed. It's not, everyone doesn't have the same ability and skill level in here, so not everyone can just volunteer and sacrifice themselves to run down a break or to participate in running down a break. So yeah, I think Marlena did a pretty good job of just attaching again. Yeah, she's still near the back, but for a lap or two there, she was really falling off a little bit, and with the pace being so hot, you end up running the risk of being detached and not catching back up. There's Jade on the inside line again, making up probably 4 or 5 spots. And just that alone lets you know, like, the speeds through those turns can be a lot faster. Because that's a really tight line. And if you can carry that much speed through the tight line, you'd be able to carry even more, taking like a proper outside line, hitting the second apex. I would treat that as a very late apex. It's a little bit too small to do it as a double apex. So basically I would ignore that the first apex where you can turn in at, or the first corner, and just take an arc that would angle me towards that second turn or a very late apex on the second turn, just to hold a little speed and get some momentum going up the hill. I believe this is Sandy here from Big Orange in front. Sandy just moved up to the P123s as well. Sandy's super strong, and congrats to her, because I think she won every race this year at CVR. And in the last few years, I don't remember anyone winning every single race. I believe Heather was close to doing it, but she moved up, mid-season. So, and Camilla takes off trying to bridge to the break up there, but the break is, it's a pretty hard, that's a pretty hard ask right there if she's going to try to bridge solo to the break. I don't think there was a preem. There may have been a field preem here, but I think she was going to try to go, and or maybe she was taking the field preem. I don't really know. But either way, the big surge there, yeah, it's hard to maintain solo, especially when you come up to this hill here, and the girls up front are very strong with a big gap. So like I said, the closest I think I seen the gap was 14 seconds. So if it's at that point and they're still in sight, yeah, you might have some hope. But, with the nature of this course, once it gets past 14 seconds, they're pretty much out of sight. Look like Marlena's looking for a little help, trying to draft someone to get a little help there. Yeah, she definitely was looking for a little help, because these girls are passing her with a little bit of speed here. But that's a good job. Hey, if you're dying, don't kill yourself. Maintain your speed. Hope some girls come through, and as soon as you get a chance, jump on a wheel and get a little bit of a draft benefit. As you can see, it's really stretched out now. So, yeah, the hammer's down, the chase is on. Yeah, but like I said, it's you wouldn't give Usain Bolt a head start on anything. So the girls up front that have a head start, they're in that range. They're in that caliber of speed. So yeah, it's definitely take a big effort to run them down. Yeah, so if you can see up front, you can see a little shadow up front there. I think that's the second motorcycle, actually. Honestly, when I edit the videos, the screen is pretty small, so it's hard for me to see some of the details. But I don't think that's the breakaway right in front of them. Even though, like I said, the gap got down to 14 seconds. The peloton put in a big push trying to catch. The gap got down to 14 seconds, and then it was out to 30 seconds, and then on the next lap it's 50 seconds. So that's just kind of what happens, like I said, when riders get out of sight or you kind of break the spirit of the peloton. That gap gets big fast. But the girls are motivated right now, as you can see. They're all on a different team. The only problem is they just have to be cautious of anyone that has a teammate in the break, because that person is not really pulling. They're not gonna pull, and you need to just realize that when they take their false pull, you're gonna need to go around them and keep the speed high. And as you can see, I think there's a Encycle Mommy's second wheel, so that kind of will slow down the effort. If she's doing what I think she's doing, that would slow down the effort of the peloton, because that person staying second wheel, staying third wheel, they're not going to come through with a hard pull to keep the speed up. They may take a false pull and kind of ride like tempo or sweet spot or something, trying to slow it down a little bit. And hopefully everyone else is, has a race IQ high enough to recognize stuff like that, and they have to go around anyone that has a teammate in the breakaway. So yeah, like I was saying, it's still fast, but as you can see, it's not stretched out single file anymore. And because it's not single file anymore, obviously it's not as fast as it could be. So that effort has died down a little bit here from the peloton. I know on that little spot there, they've been coming through at 32 to 34 miles per hour, and this time they're at 30. So anytime this speed or anytime the group relaxes now, that breakaway is gonna extend their lead a little bit more. Like I said, it's a very big ask when you have strong riders out front and you have a peloton that's full of, individuals, no larger teams. It's hard to stay organized and stay coordinated to run down a break. This little section here is just, it's a lot of fun, just putting in all the hard efforts, and then you just get this long breather here with very high speed. This year is my first year doing this circuit as well, and it was more fun than I thought it would be. Thought it would be a little more torturous, but yeah, it wasn't bad. So yeah, as you can see, the speed is really down now, down to 20, 22 miles per hour. Yeah, so I think the spirit of I think the peloton has been broken now. The spirit has kind of been taken from them, and yeah, the girls out front are just very strong. And once it dies like this and the motivation's kind of out of the peloton, that's how that gap can go from 14 seconds to 30 seconds to 50 seconds basically in one lap. I don't know if that's Camilla or Linda, but I think one of them almost hit the barrier there. Can't really see from this distance. There's Carla again, putting in a good effort to get back up to the group. Yeah, I think that's something for the the newer ladies that just stepped up to this field is, when you're in trouble, I think it's better to just burn that match now and stay attached. It's basically like stay attached at all costs. Um, yeah, it's everybody's hurting to some point when you're kind of get in trouble, but there's nothing to save it for if you save it. And you lose, you get detached from the peloton. Yeah, it's lights out after that unless they decide to slow down. But if there's any type of preem or surge or breakaway, yeah, you can really get caught in a bad situation. So I say definitely have that urgency and just always stay attached if you can. So yeah, that's the turn there. I ignore that first part and then just hit an apex here. And you definitely can carry a little more speed, taking it wide from the beginning, carrying a little bit higher speed, and just focus on the second corner and hit an apex there on the second corner, a late apex if possible, just so you don't get pushed out towards the curb. But yeah, this is a really wide surface. Course. Like the streets are pretty wide. It's only one lane compared to some of our 4-lane crits, but it's plenty wide because it's so stretched out and it's so fast. You have a lot of room. I know some people kind of thought because there's a couple crashes that the course might be dangerous, but I don't believe it's really dangerous at all. Obviously, riders make mistakes sometimes. People do things they shouldn't, or overall, we're really just competing. Everyone's just competing out there. So whenever you're competing, you're going to make a mistake sometime. And going at the speeds we're going with as many riders that we have in these races, yeah, there's going to be crashes sometimes. It's just part of it. So as you can see, 16 miles per hour, that's basically, that's below competitive group ride pace. So yeah, the peloton is really broken. Their spirit is just broken. They know the girls off the front are basically gone. These are some pretty long laps. They're like 3-minute laps. So we're really down to 2.5, 3 laps to go, and they know the breakaway is not coming back now. I believe it's a 50-second gap. So everybody's kind of just saving their legs a little bit, and for the most part, it's going to be a bunch sprint now, 5 girls off the front, and the peloton's going to be in a bunch sprint unless someone tries to make a move. I know as a spectator, it was a pretty exciting race to watch. So yeah, I think after this lap, it'll be 2 to go after this lap here. This is the 3 to go. We're halfway through this lap basically, and they'll be going into 2 to go once they come down across the start finish line again. So yeah, with 2 to go and the way this course is, with the laps being so long, obviously you want to stay protected and stay attached to the group. But I don't think it's as much urgency to get to the front. Obviously for Marlena, I'd like to see her up a good 10 spots or so and just be in the middle of the pack there. But I think with this being such a long course, 3-minute laps, people are, if it's hard, if people decide to go hard, it's kind of hard to hold a 3-minute lap, and a lot of people will fade, and especially with these really long straightaways. You really get a good draft off the person in front of you. So I don't think it's as critical with 2 to go to be, as far up front. But I think for sure going into the last lap, you don't want to really be less than like 15th place or so. And then coming out of the last turn here, I think you definitely want to be at least in about 10th spot. It's still a really long straightaway. The draft is kind of magnified here, and you have some time to move up or move around or come around riders with the straightaway being so long. But the way the group is right now, like I said, they're kind of in group ride mode here, and they're just waiting for a bunch sprint. Which honestly, in my opinion, is not a good strategy. It's not a good strategy. If you're a sprinter, obviously you may like this, especially if you're a high power sprinter, you may like this because, saving your legs, going as slow as possible, be as fresh as you can be on the last sprint, especially if you don't have a teammate. But, for everyone else, if you're not a sprinter, you don't want the pace to be this slow. And honestly, it benefits you more probably attacking or going off the front, even if you don't make it. Because when you got 40 girls and you're not a sprinter, you're not out sprinting 40 girls that are fresh because they've just been cruising the last 2 laps for the most part. So, yeah, I think this is coming into the last lap right here. So it's 1 lap to go. And if you're not a sprinter, I don't think you should stay passive on this on this lap here and just leave the speed so low and have everyone with fresh legs. And even if you are a sprinter, yeah, I understand, like, if you don't have a teammate that can give you any protection, lead you out, or to pick up the pace, yeah, I understand you do want to just be in good position here and save as much energy as possible. But, if you can sprint or not, it's never good to go against 40 people to the line. Because, sprinting is a thing, not so much about who's the fastest. A lot of it's just timing. And when you're only, when you're going to launch a sprint from 200 yards out, for the most part, anyone can win something like that. So, yeah, it's definitely would be better if the speeds were higher coming into this. But, yeah, I definitely don't think you should wait and let everyone have it easy, unless, of course, that's just not in your wheelhouse. And if if your best chance is sprinting, then just stay in a good position. But other than that, everybody's not a sprinter. So all these girls that are not sprinters, I think, yeah, it would benefit one of you to just kind of attack. I mean, I don't think there's much of a difference, from, 20th place to 40th place. It doesn't matter. If you get caught, you get caught. But no sense waiting for a sprint if you can't sprint. You can see everyone's body language is a little bit different now. Everyone's not as, even though the speeds aren't high right now, you can just see there's a little bit of adrenaline in everyone's body language. Yeah, this left side I like this left side, but I definitely would not be in the gutter. And as you can see, there's like some storm drains on the left here. I definitely would not be in the gutter. You don't want to get kind of boxed in, but at the same time, you don't want to be too far to the left either, where it's just a lot of dirt and debris. I do think the left side's better here. Marlena's in a pretty good position. I think she should stay left, just because I know the wind has better protection on the left side. I think she kind of panicked a little bit here, and she thought like, oh, she didn't want to get boxed in on the left, so she goes on the right. You see the LABA kind of lead out here with Camilla going and Linda Cruz second. So Marlena tries to follow that up, but like I said, as you can see, look, you're sprinting against 40 people. But if you look to the left side, you see Jules is protected by the wind over there, and she's just moving up the left side without even standing. So Anyway, it's good. That was a very good race, and congratulations to all the state champions on the day and everyone that moved up to race P123. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.